Our entry into ENCMP 100 programming contest is the game Rapid Fantasy. Our game, Rapid Fantasy, is a classic RPG style game with turn-based combat and open two-dimensional movement. Throughout the competition, our project went through several different stages. The first couple of stages were spent designing initial systems and learning the GUI system. The following stages were spent designing and finalizing the central GUIs for the game. The last stage was spent implementing additional content into the game and performing game balancing. During the first couple of weeks of the competition, we had developed various systems for the Kingdom project. We had developed the equipment system, the item use system, the main menu, as well as the battle system. During this, we had learned how to use cell arrays in order to store and pull up various equipment and item names that we had implemented. However, a couple of weeks into developing Kingdom, we had found out about the GUI capabilities of MATLAB, and from there we had decided that it would be much better for the game and for the game experience if we had shifted our game focus onto the GUI instead of simple text-based adventure. In order to make use of the GUI, not only did we have to learn about the GUI specific functions, but we also had to learn about structures, functions, and class stuff before it was taught in class. This took the next couple of weeks of the competition. After learning structures, functions, and class stuff, we had created various classes for many different entities within our game.
Overworld system, movement system. The player's coordinates are defined as a single point. When the player presses the right or D key, the algorithm will add 10 to the player's X coordinate. It will then display the map image, then the player's image with respect to the coordinate system. Collision system. Before the images are displayed, the collision system will detect if there is an object blocking the player's path. The algorithm will take away 10 from the player's X coordinate. Interacting with objects. Whenever the player presses the spacebar key, the function will check if the player's orientation is facing the object and if the player's coordinates are next to the object's coordinates. It will then run certain programs depending on the program numbers defined for a specific object. Spawning system. The way we set certain maps to spawn certain mobs is to have the maps have IDs. This way, let's say if the map ID is 3, we will take a random number from 3 to 5 and have that random number be the mob ID. Every time the player takes a step, a random number from 1 to 10 will be taken, and if the number is 10, we will have the algorithm run the battle sequence. Changing of maps. In order to change maps, we set the maps to have IDs and have certain coordinates. Let's say the player is at the boundary of the map and he moves right. The system will check if the player's coordinates are within the map boundaries. If not, it will set the new map with respect to where the player is.
For our main menu, we decided to have it be the central control hub of the game, where your player would perform tasks that would not take place in the battle or overworld maps. A large portion of the work was having it display certain buttons and list boxes to form certain layouts depending on what the player had specified through if they had chosen the items, equipment, or magic options in the menu. For the selection and swapping of equipment, magic, and items, a list box was used to display the player's inventory and what they had available and what they could use. The main menu was also where saving for the game took place. It was a very simple task to implement, as important data was all stored in structures such as player, mobs, weapons, etc. And storing it in these structures greatly shortened the amount of variables that needed to be saved. The battle GUI is where all the combat of the game would take place, where this combat would be turn-based. Within the battle GUI, we had determined functions for when the player attacks an enemy and when the enemy attacks a player, where it would depend on both the player stats as well as the enemy stats, as well as a function to check if either had hit 0 HP and to end the battle accordingly. For cases where the enemy attacked a player, a random attack selection would occur, mainly using a switch case based on randi with an while loop. This loop would occur and repeat until an appropriate attack was chosen by the enemy. The magic command allowed the player to use spells as chosen using the main menu GUI, and would allow the players to take advantage of the element system that we've developed. The element system was designed using a simple lookup table that determined how effective some elements were against others and what multipliers would be applied. Upon winning, the system would also award the player with items or equipment based on random chance and which map they're on. This was determined mainly using randi as well as several switch